let's make sure we do plenty of comments in our code. Now, functions. Functions are another thing. So we have variables, which are containers for data, and we have functions. Functions are the parts of Python that do things. Now, you've already seen two functions, and you've used one already, right? You've seen I have the print function, which is what we used for our hello world. Print just says take whatever's in the parentheses and print it to the command line. The other function that I just showed you is input. That is, what that says is wait for the user to type something. And then when they type something, we're going to return that to Python. And in this case, I caught it and I put it in that container called strname, which I then used later on in my print statement. So that's two functions. Functions are what do the work in Python. And there are built-in functions in Python. And pretty soon in the class, I'm going to teach you how to create your own custom functions that do all kinds of things. This is a good time to draw your attention to the Python function reference that is included in Canvas. If you're curious about a function, most of the common functions in Python are included, and they're in this format. So this is a page that I took directly from that function reference. It has a description of what it does. It has the syntax, which is how you're supposed to use it. It has an example of how it's used. And it has something called parameters. Parameters are spots in the function where you need to give it more information. For example, print has one required parameter, and that is the thing you're supposed to print. Print requires, because you can't print nothing, you must print something. So print requires you to give it something to print, whether it's a number or a string or something else. You can print all kinds of things in Python, which is really useful. So that is required. It also has other parameters. We're not going to bother with those right now. But if you want to find out more about a function or how it's used or what parameters the function requires, that function reference is very helpful. I hope you're taking notes. This is all going to be on the test on Wednesday. Just kidding. There's no test on Wednesday. Only coding. All right. So some other functions. Take a breath. It's okay. I know you all have PTSD from all your other exams. It's cool. So functions. Functions come in two flavors. Sometimes the flavor is a mix of both. But some functions do something, like print. When I say print and I give it something to print, what does it do? It prints it out. Pretty obvious. Other functions are what we call return something functions. And what that means is the function does its work, and then instead of like printing something to the screen, what it does is it returns something. It sends data back to Python, back to the Python interpreter. And you have to do something with that data or it will go away. It sends it back out. Okay, so it does something and it returns that stuff back to Python. You either need to put it into a variable, put it in a container. It's like when you finish making dinner, right? You either have to eat it or you have to put it in a container and save it for later. But if you just leave it on the counter, it just kind of goes bad. So in Python with the functions, I have both types going on right here. So print is a do something. Print prints out the username. Input waits for the user to type something, and then it takes whatever it is they type and returns it back to Python. What I'm doing right now is I'm taking that input and I'm putting it into a variable. When it returns that data that the user types in, I'm putting it into a variable because I'm going to use it later in my program. So if I don't have this part, and I'm going to have to comment that out for a second. Let's say I use input like this. If I use input like this, it is still going to ask me to enter my name, right? So it's starting out the same way. Still asking, enter your name, because that's what input does. It asks whatever your question is, or the prompt is what that parameter is called. It will display it on the screen, and then it will wait for the user to do something. But when I type that thing, notice I'm not doing anything with it anymore. So if I type something and I hit enter, the program just ends because I'm not doing anything with that data anymore. Before I was capturing that. Let me undo my stuff here. Before I was capturing that. When I type Bill, it goes straight into that container called str name. It's a string container, and then I can use that later in the program. So if I want to print this 10 times, I can enter the name, and then it will say hello Bill 10 times. So I'm using that data later on. But I can only do that when it's a return something function. So you always, here's the point. Here's what I'm getting at. To make a short story long, you always need to know whether the function you're dealing with is a print or a do something versus a return something. Because if it's a return something, you have to capture what it returns and put it into a variable or use it somewhere else. Now, here's a weird thing you can do with functions. It's called nesting. Nesting is a common concept in computer science. And I can put a function inside a function. Because that input returns something, I can put that whole function back inside the print function, and then it will just print out what I type. So when I run this, it's going to work from the inside out. It says, well, first we have to solve this. So we're going to execute that function. It'll ask me to enter my name. I'll enter my name. And then this gets replaced by whatever I type in, because that's what it returns. And then it will say, hello, Bill. So when I run this, again, if I type that, then it works like that. And so I can do that. That single line contains the whole program now. Now, do I expect you to just know all of this and start immediately coding like that? No. But as we get into this stuff, you're going to, in the back of your mind, remember what's possible, and you'll start experimenting with this stuff. That's the whole point. So I don't expect immediate recollection of all of these things.